Dear chosen one, when God picks you for something, it doesn't matter who doubts you. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made or how loud your fears are. Nothing and no one can take away what God has placed on your life. You weren't just going through the motions. You were being watched, not just by people, but by spiritual forces and even someone important, someone you didn't expect. They didn't see the image you post online. They saw what's underneath. They saw your courage. They noticed your spiritual bruises and the strength in your eyes when fear tried to take over. But you stood your ground and said, "Not today." Here's something most people don't realize. Our brains are wired to focus on fear. It's natural. It's how we survive. But you did something rare. You didn't stay there. You retrained yourself to lean into faith. While others were feeding their fear with panic and negativity, you were choosing to trust in God. That choice made you different. You didn't need to be loud about it. Just by standing firm, you lit up like a candle in a blackout. And let's be honest, you had your moments. You looked around at your life, your finances, your support system, and wondered, God, if this is a test, please tell me I'm at least getting bonus points. But you didn't walk away. You stayed. You believed when everything told you to quit. And someone noticed. You didn't wait for perfect conditions to have faith. You believed while everything was falling apart. When fear screamed, faith whispered, and you chose the whisper. You kept walking when the path made no sense. That kind of obedience doesn't always make headlines, but it moves heaven. And someone with real power saw that in you, not the dressed up version, but the raw, real version. The one who kept showing up when it hurt. That quiet strength hit them hard. They couldn't ignore it. You didn't just survive your hard times, you gave when you had little. You showed up when you were tired. You stayed loyal when it would have been easier to walk away. You kept choosing what was right, even when no one was clapping. That kind of sacrifice, it builds weight, spiritual weight. And while others only gave when it was easy, you gave when it cost you. Those moments didn't feel like wins. Honestly, they felt like loss. But they were actually investments. Seeds planted in secret. Now, those seeds are about to bloom in public. And someone who can actually open doors saw that. They saw your quiet sacrifice, and they were moved, not just to say something nice, but to take action. You were never meant to fit in. That's why your rise has felt so hard. People didn't expect you to make it. You didn't have the connections. You didn't play the game. They saw you as the underdog. But what they didn't know is that heaven had a plan for you that couldn't be touched by opinion. While they were busy judging your outer story, God was writing your comeback. And now it's becoming obvious. You didn't win through charm or shortcuts. You grew through pain. You pushed through the losses. And with every betrayal, you got stronger. The truth is, they saw you struggling and assumed you were finished. But the struggle was shaping you. Every delay grew your patience. Every closed door built your strength. You became someone they can't define and can't stop watching. The best part? That same person with real influence, the one who could change your whole direction, they noticed how you didn't get bitter. You didn't sell out. You kept your integrity. And that's what caught their attention. Not just that you rose, but how you did it. With grace, with grit, with God. And now, doors are about to open that no one expected. You didn't need to be loud about your faith. You just lived it. While others shouted about their beliefs, you lived yours out quietly and faithfully. Your roots went deep like a tree that grows strong underground before anyone sees the branches. Faith is often quiet, and it works in secret. But now, the fruit of that faith is showing up. People who used to overlook you are starting to notice. They see that while everyone else was reacting in panic, you were moving in peace. Your calm in the storm wasn't weakness, it was power. And it's changing the atmosphere. You didn't end up here by luck. You didn't just stumble into this breakthrough. Every trial, every season of confusion, every time you felt alone, it was all part of the design. Your path wasn't random. It was custom built. And now someone who matters sees it. They see the scars that shaped you. They see the story behind the success. And they're not just impressed. They feel something shift when they look at your journey. They understand this isn't just a feel-good story. It's divine. And they want to be a part of what's next for you because they know it's going to be big. People often think strength means being the loudest in the room or having the most attention. But real strength? It's being consistent when no one's watching. It's choosing not to quit even when you're exhausted. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need an audience to stay steady. That's what you have. And that's why it stands out. When others gave up at the first sign of trouble, you stood your ground. You didn't just push through once, you kept doing it. Quiet, steady, strong. That's what real strength looks like. And now, the world is starting to catch on. Fear wasn't your biggest enemy. Settling was. Fear comes and goes. But complacency, getting comfortable where you don't belong, that's what holds most people back. You could have stayed stuck. You could have played it safe. But you didn't. You saw fear as a signal that you were getting close to something powerful. So you kept moving, even when you were scared, even when it didn't feel safe. That choice is what changed your life. You didn't wait for the perfect moment. You created momentum in the middle of the unknown. And now, others are starting to realize that fear isn't what stopped them. It was their comfort zone. But not you. You moved forward. And that's why your breakthrough is happening. You've been seen, not just by God, but by someone who can actually shift your life. And they don't just admire your story, they want to reward it. Not with vague promises, but with real results. Open doors, unexpected chances, opportunities that reflect the price you paid in silence. You didn't just make it through, you built something powerful in private. And now, it's about to be revealed in public. Your journey has never been about perfection. It's been about persistence, about choosing faith when fear was louder, about staying true when no one noticed, and about walking toward purpose even when the path wasn't clear. You weren't just surviving, you were becoming the version of you that was always inside. Strong, rooted, ready. And now, the world is finally catching up to what God already knew about you. This is your moment. Not because everything's perfect, but because you stayed ready. You stayed faithful. And now, the reward is arriving, not randomly, but right on time. You are not a mistake. You are a miracle in motion. The light people see in you now was built in darkness. And now that it's shining, they can't look away. The same people who overlooked you are now trying to figure out how to be part of your story. But more importantly, the one with the power to change your life has already decided they're going to make sure the whole world knows what they saw in you. You're not just waiting for something good to happen. You're not sitting still, hoping life suddenly turns around. You're putting in the work. You're moving with purpose. You believe in blessings, but you know they don't fall out of the sky while you sit idle. You've been stepping forward, even when the path wasn't clear, even when it felt like no one was watching or cheering you on. That's not just belief, that's manifestation. That's active faith. You made a choice to live like your future was already real. You didn't just dream it. You lived like it was happening now. And slowly, it began to show. The world is finally catching up to what you already knew in your spirit. This wasn't luck. This was effort. This was vision. This was God's timing, activated through your obedience. You weren't waiting for your moment to come. You were creating it. You kept showing up. You kept pushing, kept believing, kept trying, even when nothing seemed to change. And that kind of commitment, that kind of faith, it doesn't go unnoticed forever. People are seeing you now. They're realizing you weren't just hoping for success. You were becoming someone who could handle it. Someone strong, prepared, and ready. Someone who didn't wait to be chosen, but walked like they were already called. And now, doors are starting to open. People with power are taking notice, not just of your wings, but of your journey. They see your heart, your hustle, your resilience. They want to be a part of the story you've been writing this whole time. But this journey wasn't just about you. As you kept going, others were watching. Maybe they didn't say anything, but they saw you struggle, fall, and get back up. They watched how you carried your faith quietly, how you moved even when it was hard. And without realizing it, you were becoming their inspiration. You were showing them what strength looks like. Your story became the reason someone else didn't quit. You lit a path for people who had lost their way. And now that same light is shining even brighter. Someone influential has noticed not just who you are, but who you've helped others become. Your life has power, not just because of what you achieved, but because of the hope you gave to others along the way. You never needed to shout about your faith. You didn't have to prove anything to anyone. You just lived it. Quietly, faithfully. You trusted God when nothing made sense. You kept your eyes on Him instead of your problems. And something started shifting. You tapped into something bigger than yourself. What seemed like coincidence to others was actually divine timing. What looked like random success was actually the result of walking in alignment with purpose. And now, people who once overlooked you are watching in awe. They don't just see your actions, they feel the power behind them. They sense that something greater is moving in your life. They may not fully understand it, but they can't deny it. They thought you were waiting for a green light, for someone to give you permission to move forward. But you weren't waiting on people. You were listening for God's voice. While others looked for signs from the world, you waited for direction from heaven. And when you got it, you moved. Quietly, boldly, in faith. You didn't need the world's approval to step into your purpose. You knew who sent you. And now, as everything starts to come together, they're finally realizing it was never about them. You weren't waiting for their support. You were walking with divine confidence, following a plan bigger than anything they could have imagined. Faith over fear wasn't just a phrase to you, it was a way of life. While others played it safe, you stepped out. You walked into unknown places, took leaps that didn't make sense on paper, and trusted that God would catch you. And He did, over and over. You didn't wait until the conditions were perfect. You moved when your heart told you to move. And now, people are seeing the strength in that. They see how calm you are, how steady you've become, how sure you are of your path. That kind of peace doesn't come from comfort. It comes from faith, from choosing to trust, even when fear tried to take over. There's so much you've been through that no one will ever fully understand. The nights you cried alone, the silent battles, the decisions you had to make when no one else could help. You carried it all quietly, and still you didn't give up. You kept going. You held on to your faith. And now, people may not see all the pain, but they see the strength. They see the fire in your eyes. They see the calm in your presence. They may never know the full story, and they don't have to, because the evidence of your survival is in how you stand today. You didn't need to explain the struggle. You became the proof of what overcoming looks like. You planted seeds with your faith. You showed up when no one was watching. You prayed when nothing changed. You obeyed when the path was hard. Those moments weren't wasted. Heaven saw everyone. And now the harvest is coming. The blessings are showing up, not just in your life, but in who you've become. You have peace, clarity, and strength that can't be explained. You've changed, and the space around you has changed too. People can feel it. They're drawn to you, not because of what you have, but because of the atmosphere you carry. You've become a light in the room. And the people taking notice now, they don't just want to celebrate your success. They want to be part of what you're building next. All of this wasn't random. It wasn't by chance. It was divine. While others ran after attention, you focused on alignment. While they performed for praise, you stayed rooted in purpose. You didn't need to be seen to know your worth. You let God shape you in private. And now, the same people who once overlooked you are starting to recognize your value. The spotlight isn't something you chased. You became the light. You let your walk, your work, and your quiet strength speak for you. And now, the world is finally listening. What's happening in your life now isn't charity. It's recognition. The rewards coming your way are a result of your obedience, your persistence, and your faith. The people noticing you now, they see more than your achievements. They see the foundation. They see the character. They see the journey. They see someone who didn't just rise, they were refined. Someone who didn't just survive, they became stronger. You are walking proof that faith works, that alignment matters, and that when you trust God, even in silence, He moves in powerful ways. So don't be surprised when opportunities start chasing you. Don't be shocked when the people who once doubted you now want to connect. And don't downplay it. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. The beginning of the part of your story that plays out in public after years of private growth. The beginning of open doors that were being built behind the scenes. The beginning of being honored for what only heaven saw while you were still in the fire. The truth is, you were never waiting for the spotlight. You were carrying your own light all along. And now, the world is seeing it. They're seeing the faith, the strength, the power that was always inside you. The same power that carried you when no one else could. The same light that shined in the dark. You didn't wait for your moment. You became the moment. And the most beautiful part? You're just getting started.